So we're recording it on Zoom because the live stream video or the sound is not apparently working right now. So we'll continue on. We're just getting started on the agenda. And our next item here is the review and approval of the minutes from our two prior meetings on April 20th. And then the special meeting on May 4th, where we reviewed the roofing bids. Does anybody have any comments or recommended changes on those two sets of minutes? The only thing I noticed is we have it listed as Dr. Tim Cutler. I don't know if Tim's a doctor.
Well, he does go by that. I know.
Okay, one of them we have it, and one of them we don't. So I don't know.
I see that.
I don't know if we want to correct it or not, but that's the only thing I
Okay.
picked out. So,
I'll
Verify
correct
if he
his-
is-
I will verify with him and
Yeah.
we'll correct his
all right.
appropriately. Does that
Okay,
work?
yeah, good deal. Unless there are any other changes, could we have a motion to approve those two sets of minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carried. Do we have any changes in the agenda today?
Yeah, I would, we'll just remove under lease renewals, New York Line and Great Foundation. We just haven't had a chance to question over the square footage on one of them, so we haven't had a chance to renew it or review it with them yet.
Okay, so we'll scratch item A under lease renewals.
For the legislation for the public meetings. You want to make that an agenda item or just talk about it in the report? Yeah, that's right.
So that'll do it for changes. Okay, and we'll move on to item 5 here, which is the finance report. Turn it over to Doreen.
Okay. For some reason from April, check number 5885 didn't make the report. And that was for 203.97. And then this month we have checks from 5886 to 5924 totaling 100 and I'm sorry, E87, E89. And they total $104,437.11, of which $52,126.82 is the Finger Lakes Rail pilot payments. In June, we'll finish paying that out to the Village of Penn Yan because their fiscal year starts in June, so they don't want that payment until June.
Yeah, there's a couple for the board members. There's on our pilots. Almost all of them, with the exception, I think, 2, maybe 3, get paid directly, get billed by the municipalities. There's a couple, the rail, one of them, where they send us the pilots and then we distribute out to the municipalities. So every once in a while, you'll see a big blip in both our revenues and our expense side. It's really just a transaction.
It's passed through.
Yeah.
It's passed through. And then I have check number 52 for the ag for $1,420.88, which was Cuca Lake Hotel loan payment got deposited to the ag account instead of Finger Lakes Horizon EDC. And then there's a check under Finger Lakes Horizon to be paid today as well. Check number 342. 109.15. I think.
And the only other thing I'd say is that you see the monthly figures, we got pretty large project fees based off of one of the solar projects finally making its way to closing. So that was a nice chunk that came in. Appreciate the work Harris Beach did on that because those solar projects are never easy to get all the way through the finish line. They're usually sold 2 or 3 times before you can get there.
Yeah, so in line with that, revenue year to date compared to budget is up quite a bit with the hitting, with that, the timing of receiving those agency fees, and budget expenses actual expenses are tracking below budgeted expenses. So we're ahead of the game on both of those fronts. And so net results are quite positive right now. I don't know if anybody else had any other comments or observations to talk about on the financial statements or on any of the loan reports. We do have the loan capitalization reports and just receivable aging reports there.
Steve, just a quick question. What is the rationale for when those pilots come to you versus the municipality? Is there one, or is it just based on the relationships?
They're mostly, the ones we're doing have, it's the rail line, which has parcels across the county. And that was set up, I don't know how long ago, 20+ years ago anyways, with that agreement. And then Greenwich we do as well with the pipeline. And again, that's, went through multiple towns. And it was just, I guess, easier for them at the time to say, we'll send it directly to the EDC and then let them distribute it. So
Oh, that makes
most of the time, the only times you would do it, Janice, is if it's sort of a one-off like that, and it would be discussed ahead of time with the company and the municipalities.
And it's multiple municipalities, so it's, okay, thank you. I was just trying to understand.
Thanks, Janice. Does anybody else have a question or comment? Okay, hearing none, how about a motion to approve the finance report and approve paying those specific checks?
So moved, Janice.
Okay, and a second.
Second, Serene.
Thank you, Serene. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Move on to the management reports. Who wants to get us started?
I'll start. So I've received a letter late last week from Spring Sheet Metal. We will get a credit of $14,830 by eliminating the overlayment board, that secure rock that they cannot get. So then the new price should be $278,330. So that does save us some money. And they also sent over the warranty information from Carlisle, that's still all good without that. He said they just have to use more fasteners to fasten the roof down. Shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. And our warranty will still be good. Joe, they came and met with us, and Joe's been very impressed with how professional they are and everything like that. Great communication. So
What, a price went down in today's world? That's a
Well,
shock.
only because you took out parts of the.
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, we eliminated the material they couldn't get.
Oh, okay, so we can't get it or it goes up, but anyway, well, that's good news.
Yeah.
Good news.
Like, that's all I have.
Just wanted to give one quick update on my management report. In there, I wrote that we were sending out the DRI update to the local planning committee. That's going to go out today, and I'll forward that on to the board as well. We've been waiting on a specific project to follow up so we can know exactly where they're at before we send that update. But including in there was going to be the requests to reallocate funds as well for some of the projects that aren't moving forward. So keep an eye out for that. And we'll be coming this afternoon so that you can kind of understand where the DRI process is and which projects are moving forward, and we can expect to see some construction. Other than that, just a couple quick community updates. The Elks Lodge put the flags out on Main Street. They helped donate those in front of the businesses. And in conjunction with that, now just recently is the Hometown Hero banners. So we didn't have anything really to do with that directly, but I think it's a nice addition for downtown, especially leading into Memorial Day weekend.
They're really beautiful. They look really nice.
Yeah. So it's Connor Clancy's Eagle Scout project. I think it's going to be very cool for town, as downtown.
Ah,
And then the Downtown Business Council any day now should be receiving wine barrels from Ravines, I believe it is, that bought a few of them at cost, that they're going to put throughout Main Street, and then are buying flowers to put on top of them. So I think there's 12 that are going to be coming, and it's revenue that was generated from the wing walk that they're putting back into the community to help beautify Panyan. So I think that was a pretty cool thing that they.
nice.
So my hope they want those by Memorial Day weekend as well. So next weekend it should be looking pretty nice downtown. And lastly, what I wanted to bring up was a change to the public meeting, open meeting laws. So for a while now, we've been obviously able to do video conferencing on my meetings. And Russ, help me out here if I'm wrong on anything, but I believe we're kind of at our threshold for that. Part of the budget, Governor Hochul approved the extension of, or allowing us to continue to use video conferencing, but some changes to that. So we would have to actually pass a resolution if we're going to allow both in-person and video conferencing for our meetings going forward. And we would have to allow public access to a single meeting spot. So they could come here, which that's would be pretty easy. Which we have.
Yeah, Mike, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we've obviously received a number of requests to review this, and how do I put this lightly? The legislation is not great. There's a lot of conflicting terms to it, whether or not somebody that's remote can be counted as towards the quorum. So we're looking at that for all of our IDA clients. And I don't think you need to adopt a resolution today. I think once we have our arms around what needs to be approved and what the actual substance of the legislation requires, we can then come back to the board.
Yeah, and that just kind of wanted to update them.
Right.
I was reading it, that there was 60 days from when that was approved, that we could still do what we have been doing. So I believe the time frame by next meeting, we either have to all be in person or we have to follow that legislation. Is that correct, Russ?
Sorry, unmuting. Yes, that's correct.
So the legislation is not trying to discourage it. It's just trying to have it be more formally recognized by the
That's
boards.
exactly right. Yeah.
The one thing that I read, and it sounds like they're still trying to figure it out, is that you had to have a quorum in person. But you're saying that's still being debated right now?
Yeah, there's conflicting, and I don't want to get into the legalese unless you guys want me to. There's some conflicting provisions within the legislation where it's unclear whether or not you have to have a physical quorum in place, and or whether or not remote participants can count towards that quorum and actually vote on matters. So it's we're looking at it.
Okay, thanks, Russ.
Yep.
So we'll stay on top of that and let you know what the rules and requirements are going to be, and give you advance notice before the next meeting if we need four or everyone in person, or how it's going to look. So just wanted to update the board on that.
Thanks, Mike.
And I will I'll keep my comments on the state coming out with some confusing legislation to myself. Doreen and Mike may kill me if I invite any more audits coming in. We're still dealing with 2 of them right now. I guess the only update I'll give, and I can expand upon it because I think it was pretty neat. The senior capstone projects that the college students did, I thought were really well done. I almost indifferent to what the projects they proposed were sort of, you could see the genuine interest they had in making their project go. So almost regardless if you thought the idea was neat or not, it was fun to see their enthusiasm to try to make it go. Now I thought the projects were good, so that was a bonus, but
3 out of 4 were pretty solid.
yeah. Well, I don't know which the 4th one was, but there was one that I thought, in my response back, probably had the most passion behind. I don't know that it hit the mark on trying to bring the community and the college, not necessarily more together, but just enhance that. But they were really passionate. It was like a food pantry of sorts that you can see they're really, in my opinion, again, it missed the mark a little bit, but they were in it. They liked the project. They were trying to drive it forward but, you know, it didn't really hit the mark on, it was more an internal, how do we help our fellow students, which was cool. The one was like, the one that we've heard talked about for a while, and it just has never gone, is getting the QCA college, you know, the student cards, the cash cards, whatever they use, the QCA bucks, I don't know what they're called, but QCA cash, to be able to be used in some of the downtown, to be used in some of the local businesses as well. You know, I think that one there's a heck of a lot of other communities already do that. So there's clearly mechanisms to make it work. It's just trying to figure out who drives that bus, I guess, to figure out which makes it go.
Yeah, that's a little complicated right now because, as you can imagine, our dining services are struggling because of food costs, supply chain issues, hiring, et cetera. So to divert any money away from them right now is probably going to be really unpopular. I'm not saying we can't do it, but we did just renegotiate the contract with them. So today, this is probably not the moment, but I think that it needs to be incorporated into what comes next with that relationship.
Good. Yeah. Talking to my son, they do it at Clarkson. Not every business participates, but it's amazing to see the impact that those who do or those who don't, even fast food. Like I think Taco Bell does, but like Burger King doesn't or something like that. And Tyler's like, we only go to Taco Bell because of that. Like we don't ever go to whatever the other place is. So it's an ease of access.
Yeah, so in your notes, you state that seniors are working on these projects, and as far as going forward, I see where you've got a solution, you know, to give it to maybe the younger students, but any way to help these projects get kicked off? I mean, is there someone that can take them and?
We think
run
so.
with
So
them?
that was, yeah, the other two were just following up real quick on the projects were more event based. You know, how do one just wanted to have like an event that could bring in vendors and such locally and have the QCA students there as well. And then the last one sort of blended that and said, we'll just participate in other events, which I think makes more sense. You know, try to have more of a presence at existing events. And then also had like a history trivia night, which I thought would be kind of neat, really neat idea at the college, which would be interesting. So they try to get the public to come out to the college and do trivia nights, which seem to be pretty popular, and base it on sort of the history of both the area and the college, which I thought would be some pretty neat ideas.
Yeah.
And then of course we get done and it's really exciting and fun and everyone's excited. And then, you know, they're graduating in 2 weeks or whatever. It's like, okay, well, oops, all right. So how do we formulate some plan to get these to go forward? And the first thought, and I don't know that it's the right thought, but the first one that Jenny and Malia came up with was this KC 101, which is sort of an intro to the college, and seeing if either they can pick up these projects or even maybe have them kind of create their own as well. How it works out, I'm not quite sure yet, but it'd be neat to have, I think, you know, again, blend it in some way, you know, so you can almost have the senior mentors leading the new freshmen or the new students in and sort of telling them what they're doing with the project and time.
Yeah, I think embedding this in KC 101 is a good idea because we want students when they're freshmen to understand all of the elements of the community that are available to them, not when they're seniors. So I think that, you know, the seniors identified a lot of things that they weren't even aware of existed in our community. So I hope Jenny and Malia do embed that in KC 101 because every freshman takes KC 101. So
yeah, I think it'll work. I think it'd be fun. They also wrapped up, speaking of Jenny Joyner, wrapped up it's the second round of interviewing local community, I guess business owners for the Who is Penn Yan, but that went really well. And again, almost again, separate whether the stories come out and I'm sure they're going to be great. They were great last time. They're always good. But again, just seeing the interaction between the students, like the first time there's a little bit of nerves and you're introducing them all. And then the second time you're set to try to, all right, how do we break the ice here a little bit? And they're like, just go away. We got this. And they're already, they just immediately come in, find one another and start talking. And at least the second session, it ended and nobody left. They just, their time was up and they all stayed and kept going. So thought that was a lot of fun. Last thing I'll bring up is some of the funds I mentioned, that there's more money coming into economic development from Hochul's budget than ever before. Among the things that she's put forth is actually a lot of, I think, regionally led initiatives. One is an infrastructure fund to try to help get corporate parks shovel ready. And the infrastructure cost is a challenge everywhere. And it's a lot of money. I think it's a couple $100 million, but that'll go super fast, right? There's a reason communities are struggling with infrastructure. It's because it's expensive. So even though it's a lot of money, it'll go relatively quick. There's not a tremendous amount of detail yet on that program, how to access it, how much you can get. But the initiatives there, which is great. Another one that was
Steve?
actually, yes, yep.
Sorry to interrupt on that infrastructure initiative. Would we use that possibly for the new park?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Hopefully, for sure. I've submitted it as, right now they're sort of just looking for placeholders. So, if there's a park you think you might submit, let us know. And we've done that. But there's unfortunately not much more than that behind it. We have our statewide economic development conference next week in Cooperstown, and one of the breakouts is on that. So, and I think the person running it for the state's speaking at it. So hopefully by next week, we'll start to get a little bit more detail behind that program. It'll be really competitive, I'm sure.
Steve, so if I can put my college president hat on, when you get to that statewide conference, you could keep your ears open. I'm hearing that there are some major issues with colleges, enrollments, ability to continue to operate across the state. And I'm just curious if economic development is going to talk about that at all, because should any one of these colleges fail, it will have a significant impact on the surrounding communities. And I don't know, I know Hochul is very tuned into the SUNY schools. I don't know what she's thinking about the private schools. And I'm not saying that CUCA is in that boat. I think we are better positioned than most. When you see our composite financial index, we are pretty solid right now. But what I'm hearing is really terrifying.
So one of the things that the state EDC has done in the last few years is opened up participation into colleges, the higher ed. So we now have a lot more membership there's a whole lot of colleges and universities in it now. So, and they're attending. So that, in fact, we're not even sure how much longer. It's always been in Cooperstown. How much longer we can keep having it there, because it's getting so many attendees are coming now. So I'll check on that, Amy, because I have heard it that a lot of colleges are seeing enrollment go down, and there's a number of reasons I think behind it, and that we've heard from tuition costs and just the demand for what wages and salaries are without that college degree. And actually, I remember the director of workforce development at MCC probably 5 years ago speaking to that they were seeing at MCC and pointing to the fact that there was just a whole lot of different issues colliding kind of at one time for them. But
They are, and the community colleges enrollments have dropped by like half. So they have seen tremendous decline in enrollment. There is a demographic shift, obviously, too, away from New York State. And then in 2025, the birth rates, the graduating seniors coming out of high school is going to decline significantly. So, all of that certainly existed before the pandemic, but the pandemic caused an immediate crisis and an immediate 20 to 40% drop in enrollment that I think a lot of colleges weren't planning for or anticipating, and it hasn't come back. And I think because of the tight labor market. But like I said, I'm not necessarily worried for us yet, but I think that the more desperate some of the other colleges get, the more likely it is that we could be negatively impacted in the future. And Lemoyne's already discounting at over 70%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Wow, okay, that's I'll definitely bring that up. One of the other programs that we pushed, actually specifically, I know Bill Strasberg from Wegmans and I pushed heavily, was on DRIs, the DRI program, which still exists, but we have seen now, being on the scoring committee, selection committees of it, you have communities that have submitted and been finalists 4, 5 times. And every community submission now is good. It's just, it's how do you pick the one over the others? They're all good. And so what we have been, and then you do get some of the challenge of a smaller community only has so many projects they can point to. And you get a larger community like a city of Rochester come in and with 2 buildings be able to show $40 million or $60 million investment. It's hard to compete against that. So Bill and I had pushed really hard for almost like a mini DRI and downtown revitalization initiative.
Thank you.
$10 million.
I knew that.
$10 million project or grant we got a few years ago for.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I knew what it was for, but I just was like, "What's the acronym?" I haven't had enough coffee. Sorry.
That's all right. So they have created I forget what it's called now, but it is, my terrible marketing idea, a mini DRI. So communities can go for like $2 million or $3 million and
So smaller communities won't have to compete with cities.
they still can. So you can go, everyone can go after the 10 million.
Okay.
But again, who knows what the details will say, but I am hopeful that what they end up doing is, okay, so community A gets the 10 million, community B and C, we're right there, just not quite, we didn't think they had enough projects to make it work. So we'll give them the mini award and let them go forward with some of the projects. And they can be significant. A couple $1 million for a smaller community can do a lot, which leads me into the next thing they've opened back up, which is Restore New York. And they haven't done that in a while. And as an example of what a couple $1 million can do for a community, our Water Street development between Burkett Landing, the warehouse development, into the first, upscale apartment development we had in the village of Penn anyways, and the Garrett Winery building was a $2.5 million Restore grant 10 years ago, probably. And that was $2.5 million. And it really kind of kickstarted everything that was going on downtown. And so they've reopened that, and they have quite a bit of money for that program. And they said, we'll see if it holds true, but previously DRI awarded communities get bonus points. They want to see communities that already have state funding in it, state investments in it, specifically DRI communities, to go after these funds. So it's sort of odd that that you would, I'm not going to complain about it by any means, that you get almost like bonus points for being a DRI community. And I think what they're assuming is, look, we've already invested a little bit. If you can further that investment, we're happy to invest more to sort of accelerate it. And so there's a couple projects that, I came back and told Mike right away that we're underfunded in our previously DRI projects and other big projects that we'd love to go after, but couldn't make work, that so they'd make for a good submission. So lots of funding out there for economic development purposes. We just got to get to it now.
So it seems like there's an element that if you are successful with your projects, then they're going to continue to give you, I mean, you have a better chance. That's what those bonus points are.
Mhm.
If you follow through.
Mhm.
And if you're a community that wasn't able to, then you're more or less penalized.
Yeah, in the scoring metrics, it, and the only thing I can come back to is that they want to see, I guess, proof that you've already done it. So they're
Right.
aware that you can make it work. But there's, even when we went for, it might have been some of the original Main Street grant funds, there's questions in there. Have you done this before? And if so, you get bonus points. If not, then you have to work harder to get that first allocation. So the only thing I can point to is that, there's a confidence level with doing it, and they want to continue to invest where they've already invested. So a lot of programs coming up, trying to figure out how to make it work. And we're actually presenting tomorrow, I think, to some of the Village of Dundee businesses to see what we can do there, get them together, what do they want to try to attack, and then figure out which source to go after for that. And they want me to present on the different programs, and I might turn it around a little bit on them, which they, unless they're watching, won't be aware of. But I'm more or less going to ask them what they're trying to do, and almost have our regional council of sorts for Dundee. Like, you tell us, you put forth what's the plan, what do you want to see accomplished here, and then same thing we tell a business. It's pretty hard for me to tell you all the different programs out there. Why don't you tell me what you're trying to do, and we'll see what programs fit best. And that's kind of what I'm like. We're seeing it with the Downtown Business Council. For years, we've been trying to get the business led. You guys drive it. Let the chamber, let the Economic Development Center be your resources to help drive whatever it is you're trying to do, versus us just throwing concepts out there and trying to get you to come along with it. So, now it's, you hear all the thing that the business council is doing there. Get something similar going in Dundee. You drive the bus. We'll come in and try to help make it go, but it doesn't really work in the opposite. So that was a lot. Questions?
Janice has got something.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Steve, I don't know if I can, but I would love to, is it possible to attend that meeting with you in Dundee? I just want to kind of see the process unfold.
Sure.
I think you remember I was supposed to be in Costa Rica this week. Grace was way sick coming out of finals, so we had to cancel. And so I have time. So I think it would be interesting just to observe it. But the second point I wanted to make too, and I love your concept, right? The business is driving it. Like, what do you guys want to achieve? Do you have any examples that you can bring? Remember, you said to me a while back, like, Perry is a good example of what you think, some strong development could do. But I think it would help kickstart maybe the Dundee meeting or their thinking to share smaller, projects that different, villages or, towns did that were similar in size or might be aligned. Not to say that those are the only projects that they would do, but to give them a starting point for their thinking. Or even, hey, these are projects that are not a good idea because they didn't work or whatever. Just those, sometimes it helps to get their thinking going. And then, not that they have to do those projects at all, but I get your point about saying, okay, you guys tell us what you want to do. We'll figure out how to help get you funding. That makes complete sense to me. But sometimes, it took you a while, right, to get the Penn Business Council to think that way. But maybe, I don't know if that will help them get there faster or not, but just a thought.
Well, it's a good idea. It's a really good idea. I will do that so they have an idea of what they can do for sure.
Just little mini vignettes, or even from Penn where you guys have been successful. I mean,
Okay, good discussion. Does anybody else have anything to ask or comment on the management reports? Okay, let's move on to our action items here. We scratched item A, the first lease, but I think we're gonna turn it over to Doreen and have her go over item B and C, the two proposed leases.
Yes, definitely.
All right, first one, hotbed lacrosse lease. They're renting the back half of the Sunville building, right?
Yes.
That's the first building where churches flooring and all that is. They are looking at I think a 1-year lease renewal at $990 a month. It's 4,500 or 25, I'm sorry, 2,500 square feet. Basically warehousing. They're not there all that often, but he runs his lacrosse goals, netting business out of there, and actually helps a little bit some of the other tenants if they need use of his tow motor and that sort of thing for different things. So 1-year lease, we increased a little bit, works out to like $475 a square foot. So $990 a month for 2,500 square feet per year.
What about the Psych Center?
Okay. Elmira Psych Center, this one's a little bit different. Where it's kind of led through the New York State Dormitory Authority. So they provide the lease to us instead of us using our lease. But they're looking at a 5-year lease with a tenant option for 5 additional years. This was in your lease summary. There's a lot of numbers I'm going to throw at you. This was in the last month's summary. We just hadn't approved it yet with them. They rent a single office from us. It's 350 square feet. So it's for the first year, it'd be $325 a month. And then it goes up for the next couple of years to $350 a month. And then actually the first 2 years are $325, the next 3 are $350. Then you get out further years, and if they wish to go on, 2027 would be $370, 2028 through 29, $385, and then up to $400 for the remainder. So it's a long lease, but there's a lot of numbers to throw you. It was in here. You can go back and.
Okay. Is there any discussion? We'll just do it as an approval for both items, but let's hear if there's any discussion on either of them before we ask for a motion, if there are any questions or comments.
You say it's a long lease. Is that something that it makes you uncomfortable? Or do you not do long leases typically?
No. I mean, we don't do a whole lot of 5-year renewals, but we've done some. It's not out of,
Okay.
like, it's not a complete unicorn. Like,
Yeah,
so
okay.
no, I don't mind long leases at all.
No?
Those are nice.
All right.
Yeah, predictable rental income.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
All right. How about a motion to approve items B and C, the leases to Hotbed and Elmira Psych Center?
So moved, Janice.
All right, and a second,
Second, Marion.
Marion, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. Our next scheduled meeting would be June 15th, third Wednesday in June. I think that's it. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order?
I have a bit of exciting personal news to share with the board. My wife and I are expecting our first child in September.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So wanted to share with you guys as well. So
Oh, good for you.
gonna have a
That's
little bit.
fantastic.
Congratulations.
Good,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
September.
September.
You
yeah.
Congratulations.
said a little boy?
Of what you asked for.
I'm sorry, Russ.
Say congratulations and be careful of what you ask for.
Yeah. I've been telling everybody that hopefully he gets 75% of my wife and 25% of me, or else community's in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, that's fantastic. Congrats, and give your wife a big hug from us.
Thank you. Will do. Will do.
Future college student enrollment, Amy. They're working on it already.
The numbers up, yeah.
It's all right, Mike, get those birth rates up.
That's a great way to end the meeting today. Could we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Janice.
Thank you, Janice. And a second,
Second.
Mary Ann. All those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
everyone.
lot.